Amanda! Comrades, firstly, I want to thank the staff of Amanda and AIDC. Walking into the offices today, you get a sense that this organization has been transformed into a multimedia organization. You see the exhibitions, the amount of work and care that has gone into them. It struck me, and I want to say a big round of thanks to all the staff that really put so much into putting it together. Can we give them a round? Now, comrades, there's a story set in the Soviet Union. It's the story about two workers. They're out in the middle of deep rural areas building a railway track. And the Soviet state has rolled out communication infrastructure. So they've got a radio station and they've got speakers broadcasting, no? And two workers are working and listening, and Comrade Stalin is busy delivering an address to the nation. And the one worker says to the other worker, "Isn't this amazing? We can be here so far away from Moscow, and still we can hear Comrade Stalin and his thoughts on the nation." And the other worker turns and says, "That is amazing. But how is Comrade Stalin going to hear us?" Now, I think this is the key challenge of the new AIDC. As an alternative media organization, how do we create the spaces and the opportunities for ordinary poor and working people to express themselves, their views and interests, and to define the agenda of the kind of information they want to receive? So that is why the title of this evening's function is Alternative Media and Social Justice. And the new birth of AIDC, merging with Amanda, the Progressive Media Project, is saying, how can we create alternative media spaces where poor people can express themselves, where poor people can receive the kind of information they need to empower themselves, and where poor people can have a dialogue, a discussion about what needs to be done. That is the AIDC. We do two things. We open up media spaces. We open up media spaces by training people in media production skills. And if you walk down the passage of the office this evening, you will begin to see a bit of that work. Community activists reflecting on their city and beginning to give meaning to the city themselves. We also produce, package, and distribute that media. And many of you will be familiar with the Amanda magazine.
Not enough of it.
No one leaves without subscribing. Sure. You'll also see in some of the rooms we're playing episodes of Amanda television, and there are many other different mediums that will reach different audiences that AIDC wants to promote. There are two things I wanted to touch on. In South Africa, the media, like elsewhere in the world, is controlled by monopolies. The broadcast media is controlled almost completely by the South African Broadcast Corporation. In the print media, over 90% of publications are controlled by only 4 companies. So it's an environment that is in desperate need of some kind of change. Where do we get information and perspectives that don't hold only elite voices and have only discussions about what is to be done for the elite? I want to suggest that immediately there are 2 very exciting opportunities that AIDC is working with. The first is community media, and in particular community radio. There are currently over 80 community radio stations in South Africa, covering most townships and many, many villages across the country. Stations that are, at least in theory, owned and controlled democratically, non-profit organizations. And AIDC is committed to working with other organizations to make sure that we turn these community radio stations into what they are meant to be, the voice of the poor and the information servers of the poor. It's enough of them just playing Kwaito and having religious services on Sunday and carrying news feeds from government, your GCIS news feeds. As progressive people in South Africa and the left, We have to enter these spaces and find a way to make use of them. The second thing I wanted to touch on is the internet, which I think is about 20 years old now. Many of us were excited, and then many of us became disillusioned. Disillusioned because the internet has got so little meaning in poor communities. People just don't access it. But there's a revolution unfolding as we speak. South Africa has one of the highest mobile phone penetration rates in the world. Currently, we have 30 million handsets in a population of some 48 million. There's research saying that in every household in the country, even the most poor and rural, there's at least one handset. So that's the first thing. How do we, as a progressive community, start to make use of this platform, which is fundamentally democratic? It's not only the means of receiving information, but it's also the means of production. People, through their cell phones, can be media producers and start telling their own stories. No? Sure. So these are some of the opportunities we see as AIDC. We have no intention of doing much by ourselves. In fact, we can't. We're a handful of people in Observatory Cape Town. We are looking for partners. In particular, we're looking for partners who are interested in becoming or are already communication activists. Many of us work in these sectors, and each sector will believe that, for example, there's Farrell Hunter, that, you know, education and literacy is the key to unlocking poverty. People in the land sector will tell you that the key to unlocking poverty is redistributing the land. People in the labor sector will say, actually, the most important strategic priority is addressing the issue of oppression and exploitation of workers. Now, I want to suggest tonight that communication, often seen as an afterthought, a nice to have, no? If there's a bit of money left in the budget, can be the key. Because freedom of expression is not a luxury item that comes after your land and after your education. Freedom of expression is the key to getting your land and your education. Access to information is not a nice to have if there's money left to buy books. Access to information is the key to realizing all your other rights, all your other needs. So as AIDC, a new alternative media organization committed to putting in the hands of the people the power to communicate, to access information and express themselves. We're looking forward to working with many of you that are here tonight, if not all of you in the future. And welcome. Thank you.